Okay, have you ever wondered what happens when a seemingly small slight, like a perceived insult, just escalates? Escalates into this major spiritual lesson involving, pride, humility, and even a monk being sent on a really, really long journey.
Hmm. Or maybe on the flip side, think about generosity. Like generosity is so profound, so impactful, that it literally caused divine flowers to rain down from the sky.
Exactly. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a pretty fascinating journey into an ancient story from the Buddhist texts. Specifically, it's called the Sudhammattheravatthu.
Yeah, and this isn't just some old tale. It's more like a rich tapestry, right? Woven with these threads of incredible faith, but also the dangers of pride, the importance of humility, and honestly, the amazing, long-lasting impact our actions can have.
So we've got this detailed account focusing on two main characters. Citta, who's this really devoted lay follower, and then there's Sudhammattera, a monk. And our mission today is basically to unpack this story. We want to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts, that really shine a light on these timeless principles.
And show you how these, ancient lessons can still offer some profound aha moments even for us today.
Okay, let's dive in.
So let's start with Citta. He's described as a householder, a layman, living in a place called Sancha.
Right. And his whole spiritual journey seems to kick off with this one kind of simple but really life-changing encounter.
It does. He sees the venerable Mahana Matera, who's out on his alms round.
And it wasn't just like casually noticing him, was it? The text emphasizes the monk's dignified presence, his demeanor.
Exactly. That sheer presence immediately struck Citta, so much so that he just felt compelled to invite the monk home for a meal right then and there.
And it turns out to be way more than just lunch.
Oh, absolutely. After the meal, Citta sits down and listens to a Dhamma talk from Mahana Matera, a teaching.
And this is the incredible part. During that very first talk, Citta attains stream entry.
Yep, Todapati Phala.
Okay, hang on. Stream entry. For listeners who might not be familiar, what does that actually mean in practice? What kind of transformation are we talking about?
Right. So stream entry, Sodapati Phala, it's basically the first irreversible step on the path to enlightenment in Buddhism. It means Siddha had firmly entered the spiritual stream.
Okay.
He becomes, the text says, unshakably faithful. He gained this deep, profound insight into how things really are. It's a huge spiritual awakening. Really significant.
And unshakably faithful after one talk. That's pretty amazing.
It is. And his devotion wasn't just some internal shift. It manifested immediately, outwardly.
Yeah, he instantly donated his own garden, the Ambaka garden, to the Sangha, the monastic community, turned it right into a monastery.
He did. And there's this detail, which is quite striking. The text says the earth actually trembled at that moment.
Wow.
Yeah, signifying that the Buddhist teaching was now firmly established there. And Siddha didn't stop. He then built a great monastery, specifically with open doors, welcoming monks from, all over.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How just observing someone's character, that monk's dignity, could spark such intense faith and generosity and lead to immediate spiritual awakening.
It really is. A simple observation leads to profound action. And that sets the stage perfectly for the next character, Sudhammattera.
Yeah.
He was a monk living right there in Citta's town.
Right. So Citta's story starts with this incredible generosity, but then, almost ironically, that same generosity becomes the trigger for a very different kind of lesson involving this other figure, Sudhammattera.
Exactly. So word gets around about Citta's virtues, his generosity, his faith, and it reaches the two chief disciples of the Buddha.
Sariputta and Moggallana.
That's right. They hear about Citta and decide they should go visit Machikasetta.
And Citta, being Citta, doesn't just wait for them. He goes out to meet them. How far did he go?
Half a yojana.
Half a yojana. Okay, remind us. How far is a yojana, roughly?
It's an ancient measure, varies a bit, but think maybe around 7 miles or 11 kilometers. So half that is still a significant walk just to greet someone. Shows his respect.
Definitely. And he invites them to his monastery. They give a Dhamma talk. And Citta's spiritual progress continues. He attains the next level.
He does. He attains non-returner anagami phala.
Which is even higher than stream entry.
Correct. It means he shed even more defilements, things like sensual desire and ill will. He's now guaranteed not to be reborn in the human realm again, only in higher realms until final liberation. His faith is clearly deepening, developing.
Amazing. So after this, Citta decides to offer a meal the next day.
Yes, a big one. He invites the two chief disciples and 1,000 monks, a huge undertaking.
Okay, and then this is where it gets tricky, right?
This is the pivot point.
Yeah.
After inviting the chief disciples and all those monks, he then turns to Sudhammattera, the local monk, the resident monk, and invites him.
Invites him last.
Invites him last. And Sudhammattheravatthu, well, he doesn't take it well.
Understatement, maybe. He takes deep offense. His thought is literally, this one invites me last.
Exactly that. And he doesn't just feel slighted, he actively refuses the invitation. Citta asks again, and he refuses again. Repeatedly.
Wow. Okay, so his pride is clearly stung. But then, despite refusing, he still shows up the next morning.
He does. He turns up early, seemingly just curious, wanting to see all the grand preparations Citta's made for the chief disciples.
And he doesn't just observe quietly.
No, he's quite provocative. He refuses to even sit down when offered a seat, claiming he's just there on his alms round, not as a guest.
Okay, that's awkward. And then he tries to find fault.
He does. He looks at this lavish, generous spread Citta has prepared and says something like, "Your offering is splendid, householder. But, one thing is missing."
Oh, boy. And Citta asks, what?
Citta asks what's missing. And Sudhammattheravatthu replies, really sarcastically, "Sesame cakes. Galasogolika."
Sesame cakes. Out of everything. And Citta doesn't just let that slide, does he?
Not at all. Citta apparently had a sharp mind and wit. He fires back, comparing Sudhammattheravatthu to a crow.
A crow? Meaning?
Implying, perhaps greed, or maybe scavenging, being unworthy, picking over things when there's a feast available. It's a strong comparison.
Ouch. And Sudhammattheravatthu's reaction?
He's enraged. Absolutely furious. He declares he's leaving Citta's residence immediately and won't stay there anymore. And he goes straight to the top.
He goes to complain to the Buddha himself.
Yep. Marches off to tell the Buddha how badly Citta treated him.
And how does the Buddha respond? Does he sympathize with Sudhammattheravatthu?
Not in the slightest. Sudhammattheravatthu explains the situation, blaming Citta for the insult, but the Buddha immediately turns it back on him.
He says what exactly?
He says essentially, "You abused a faithful and confident lay follower." The blame is placed squarely on Sudhammattheravatthu.
Wow. No mincing words.
None. And then the Buddha orders Sudhammattheravatthu to go back and apologize to Citta.
So the lesson here seems pretty clear, doesn't it? Pride, that feeling of being slighted, it can just completely derail you.
Absolutely. Like Sudhammattheravatthu, it can make you miss out on something wonderful, the meal, the company, the spiritual atmosphere, just because your ego feels bruised. You end up acting like that crow, maybe, picking at imagined lacks instead of appreciating the abundance.
That's a powerful image. It really makes you think. How often do we let minor things, perceived slights, just cloud our judgment like that? But the story doesn't end with the order to apologize. Sudhammattheravatthu goes back, right?
He does. He returns to Citta, does as the Buddha commanded, and asks for forgiveness.
And
Citta refuses.
Refuses. Even after the Buddha sent him?
Yep, he refuses the apology. So Sudhammattheravatthu has to go all the way back to the Buddha, empty-handed, and presumably even more humiliated.
Okay, this is getting intense. Why do you think Citta refused? Was it just stubbornness or something else?
It's interesting, isn't it? Maybe the apology wasn't perceived as genuine enough yet. Or perhaps Citta, with his insight, knew Sudhammattheravatthu hadn't fully grasped the lesson. The text doesn't explicitly say, but the Buddha seems to understand.
So what does the Buddha do now?
He knows Citta won't forgive easily, so he sends Sudhammattheravatthu back again. Another long journey. 30 yojanas.
30 yojanas? That's like, what, over 200 miles?
Something like that. A very long walk. And this time, the Buddha gives him no specific instructions on how to apologize. The journey itself seems to be the point.
A deliberate act to break his pride.
It certainly seems that way. A long, solitary walk to contemplate his actions. Only when Sudhammattheravatthu returns to the Buddha the second time, presumably truly humbled by the whole ordeal.
Then the Buddha helps.
Then the Buddha sends another monk, an emissary, to go with him, probably to mediate or ensure the apology is finally accepted.
And it's around this time the Buddha gives a teaching, right, about the dangers of, well, self-importance for monks.
Yes, a very pointed teaching delivered in verses. He talks about the foolish monk, the one who gets caught up in desires for recognition he hasn't earned.
What kind of desire specifically?
Things like wanting people to think, oh, he's so faithful, so virtuous, so learned, diligent, wise. His defilements are destroyed. Even when it's not true, that craving for a reputation you don't deserve.
I can see how that would be a trap. It's easy to want the image without doing the work. What else?
The desire for a big following. May all the monks in the monastery surround me. May they always ask me questions. That need to be the center of attention.
Okay. And also power.
Yes, the desire for authority over things like monastery lodging, wanting to assign the best rooms to your favorites and give the poor ones to others. petty power plays.
And wanting offerings directed only at you.
Exactly. May the lay families give gifts only to me, not to any other monks. That kind of spiritual possessiveness or greed.
It sounds like a comprehensive list of ego traps.
It is, and also wanting credit for everything. May everyone, monks and lay people alike, believe this work was done by me, and wanting everyone to just obey you in everything, big or small.
So the Buddha's point is that these kinds of wishes, these intentions, they just backfire.
Completely. He says they only increase craving and conceit. They actively get in the way of developing insight and making real spiritual progress. It's a very direct warning about self-importance.
And hearing this teaching, this finally gets through to Sudhammattheravatthu.
It seems so. Hearing this, maybe combined with the humbling experience of the journeys, he finally fully understands his mistake, his folly.
And the result?
Within a few days, he attains arahantship, full enlightenment, with analytical knowledge, no less.
Wow. From deeply prideful to fully enlightened, that's quite a turnaround.
It really is. The path of humility, even forced humility initially, led to profound liberation.
So now, as an arahant, he goes back to Citta.
Yes. Now he sincerely apologizes. And Citta, seeing the genuine change, the genuine remorse, he accepts the apology immediately.
And Citta even asks for forgiveness in return.
He does. He says, if he himself was at fault in any way, may Sudhammattheravatthu forgive him. It's a beautiful moment of reconciliation.
That whole sequence really highlights something, doesn't it? True humility isn't about being weak or letting people walk over you. It's about clearing away the ego static so you can actually see clearly, gain insight.
Well put. Letting go of that I was slighted feeling, even when it feels justified, can open the door to incredible growth, just like it did for Sudhammattheravatthu eventually.
Okay, so Sudhammattheravatthu finds his path. But let's shift back to Citta Gahapati, because his story takes another turn, one that's almost unbelievable.
It really does.
Yeah.
So despite all his spiritual achievement stream entry, non-returner status, Citta had actually never met the Buddha in person.
Really? After all this?
Yeah. So he resolves, I must see the Buddha.
And knowing Citta, he doesn't just pack an overnight bag.
Not quite.
Yeah.
He prepares 500 cartloads of gifts.
500? What kind of gifts?
All sorts of staples and valuables, sesame, rice, ghee, sugar, cloth, you name it, a massive amount.
And he decides to make it a group trip.
A huge group trip. He basically puts out an open invitation. Anyone who wants to see the Buddha can come with him. And he guarantees he'll provide for everyone. No one will lack food or supplies.
How many people took him up on that?
The texts say it amounted to 3,000 people.
3,000. Who were they?
It breaks it down. 500 monks, 500 nuns, 500 laymen, 500 laywomen, plus Citta's own followers and retinue. A huge procession.
Wow. And the journey itself, how long did that take?
It was the 30 Yohana journey again. He planned it meticulously. 1 Yohana per day, so a month-long trip, with provisions for everyone.
Okay, this is where it gets wild, right? The provision.
This is where it becomes truly extraordinary, because along the entire journey, at every single stopping point, every Yochana, deities appeared.
Deities, like gods.
Yes, they set up camps for the whole entourage and provided divine food and drink for everyone, every single day.
So Citta didn't actually need his 500 carts of supplies.
Nope. As a result of this divine catering, his own 500 carts remained completely full, untouched, for the entire month-long journey.
That is mind-blowing. Divine intervention on a massive scale.
It is. And the miracles don't stop there. As they get close, the Buddha knows Citta is arriving. He tells his attendant, Ananda, what's going to happen.
He predicts something.
He foretells a very specific miracle. He says, when Citta bows down to me, divine flowers of 5 different colors will rain down knee-deep over an area of 8 carisas around me.
Knee-deep flowers. Over.
How big is 8 carisas? It's a large area. Think roughly 20 acres, maybe 15 American football fields. A huge space.
And people knew this was predicted.
Yes, word got out. A huge crowd gathered specifically to witness this foretold event.
So Citta arrives.
He arrives, approaches the Buddha, bows down at his feet.
Yeah.
And at that exact moment,
The flowers fall.
boom,
Yeah.
knee-deep rain of 5-colored divine flowers covering that huge area, just as the Buddha said. And the crowd erupts, thousands of shouts of approval. It must have been an incredible sight.
Unbelievable. And Citta stays for a while.
He stays for a month, offering dana, giving generously to the Buddha and the Sangha every day.
Using his supplies now?
Still no. He uses all the gifts he received from the deities and also from human admirers along the journey. His original 500 carts remain untouched, still full.
This level of abundance is just staggering. But it gets even more remarkable on the way back, doesn't it?
It does. When Sid is ready to leave after a month, his carts are still full. He asks the Buddha, "Where can I unload these gifts? I need to empty the carts before I go."
And the Buddha gives him permission.
Yes, the Buddha designates a place for him to empty the carts.
So he finally starts the journey home with empty carts.
He does. But as soon as he sets off,
Don't tell me.
yep, deities and humans appear again, and they start filling his carts back up.
With what, this time? More food?
Not food. This time, they fill his 500 carts with 7 kinds of jewels.
Jewels! 500 cartloads of jewels.
7 kinds of jewels just appearing and filling the carts. And meanwhile, he's still providing for his huge 3,000-person entourage on the way back, now finally using his original supplies from the very beginning of the trip.
This whole episode, it really pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible, doesn't it? It's not just about being generous. It's about this almost cosmic level of return orchestrated by unseen forces.
It absolutely challenges our normal understanding of cause and effect, or at least the scale and immediacy of it. And naturally, someone noticed.
Ananda.
Seeing all this, the divine food, the flower rain, the jewels, this unparalleled good fortune surrounding Citta, he asks the Buddha directly.
What does he ask?
He asks, basically, why? Why does Citta receive such incredible honor and fortune, whether he's coming towards you or going away from you? What's the reason for all this?
And the Buddha gives an explanation rooted in
Karma. Past actions. He explains Citta's past karma, tracing the root cause way, way back.
how far back?
100,000 eons. To the time of a previous Buddha named Padumuttara. But the specific act he highlights happened more recently, relatively speaking, during the time of the Buddha Kassapa.
Okay. And what was Citta back then?
In that lifetime, Citta was born as a hunter.
A hunter. Interesting.
Yeah. And one day, during the rainy season, he was out and saw a monk meditating peacefully under a tree.
And he felt moved.
Deeply moved, inspired by the sight of the meditating monk. So he quickly went home, prepared some food, meat, and rice, and gathered various flowers he could find.
And brought them back to the monk.
Yes, he offered the food and the flowers to the monk.
And this is the key moment, isn't it? The offering itself, plus something else.
Exactly. As he made the offering, feeling that devotion, he made a very specific, heartfelt wish, an aspiration.
What did he wish for?
He wished, just as this offering of food and flowers has brought such delight to my own mind right now, may it be that wherever I am reborn, thousands of gifts come to delight my mind, and may a rain of 5-colored flowers fall for me.
Wow. A very precise wish connected directly to the act.
Very precise. And because he lived virtuously after that, the power of that wish combined with the merit of the offering started to bear fruit. He was reborn in heavenly realms.
Where divine flowers rain knee-deep, just like you wished.
Exactly. And the Buddha connects it directly to the present. He states clearly that the flower rain that happened when Citta was born, the one Ananda just witnessed when Citta bowed, the constant stream of divine food and gifts, the carts being filled with jewels, all of it is the direct result, the ripening of that single meritorious act and powerful aspiration made way back in the time of Kassapa Buddha.
That's incredible. Such a clear illustration of karmic cause and effect playing out over vast timescales.
It really is. The Buddha concludes by saying, essentially, the faithful person endowed with virtue, blessed with fame and fortune, is honored wherever they go. It all comes back to the qualities Citta cultivated, starting with that act of faith as a hunter.
So reflecting on this whole story, we've seen Citta's incredible faith and generosity, starting from that first encounter.
And we contrasted that with Sudhammattheravatthu's journey through pride, the sting of being slighted, the incredibly long walk to humility, and finally, his own enlightenment.
We saw how a small incident, that invitation, could spark such deep lessons, and how these amazing good deeds, even from lifetimes ago, could manifest as literal miracles.
Yeah, the flower rain, the divine provisions, the jewels. It's extraordinary.
It really makes you think about the consequences of our own actions, doesn't it? Not just the immediate effects, but the long-term ripples.
Definitely. So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? This deep dive into Citta's story, it really challenges us to think about the long game of our own actions, you know?
Yeah, if one simple, heartfelt offering, combined with a sincere wish, can echo across literally hundreds of thousands of years, creating this cascade of good fortune and blessings. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. What unseen seeds are we planting today? With our own acts of kindness, maybe your generosity, Or conversely, those moments of pride, of feeling slighted, of being self-centered like Sudhammattheravatthu was initially.
How might those seeds, good or bad, blossom in our own future? Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe somewhere down the line. What kind of flower rain, or maybe what kind of difficult journey are we setting ourselves up for with the karma we're creating right now in this very moment?